Ukraine, but Russia's foreign ministry has a warning for authorities in Ukraine. If you use force against the protesters, it could lead to civil war. Pro-Russian protesters are still occupying regional government buildings in Donetsk and Luhansk. Ukraine's acting interior minister says security forces in the city of Kharkiv have retaken control of buildings that demonstrators had occupied. He says 70 people were arrested. The Obama administration is sending a warning to Moscow over any future action in Ukraine.
If Russia moves into eastern Ukraine, either overtly or covertly, this would be a very serious escalation. We call on President Putin and his government to cease all efforts to destabilize Ukraine, and we caution against further military intervention.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke on the phone Monday. They agreed in principle to convene talks on the crisis within 10 days. The U.S., the EU, Russia, and Ukraine would all be at the table. Russia's Interfax news agency says Moscow has proposed also including representatives of southeast Ukraine. Moscow is demanding that Russian speakers in eastern Ukraine be protected or else. It sounds like the Crimea situation 3 weeks ago. Relitsa Vasileva gives us a closer look at the upheavals.
Panic at Donetsk regional TV station. Journalists flee to safety. Police take up positions and repel an attack by unidentified gunmen.
I was standing by the window and saw about 5 cars driving up. They immediately got out and immediately, without any word, opened fire.
A day before, pro-Russian protesters took over Donetsk's regional parliament building, declared Donetsk independent, and called a referendum for May the 11th. Chants rang out for Putin inside the occupied building in this social media video, not verified by CNN. This unidentified speaker calls on the Russian president to send peacekeepers.
Only in Russia we see our last remaining defender of our culture of the Russian world. Only a peacekeeping force of the Russian army will be able to send a convincing message to the Kiev junta, which came to power by the means of weapons and blood.
The weekend's takeover of state buildings in Donetsk, Kharkov, and Luhansk is a serious escalation of the turmoil in Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland bordering Russia. In an address to the nation Monday, Ukraine's acting president Oleksandr Turchinov pointed the finger at Russia for playing out a Crimea scenario.
Dear citizens of Ukraine, yesterday the second wave of the Russian Federation's special operation against Ukraine started. The goal is to destabilize the situation in the country, topple Ukrainian authorities, disrupt the elections, and tear our country apart.
Ukraine's leaders say they will not allow foreign troops to seize Ukrainian territory. But an estimated 40,000 Russian troops are right across the border. President Putin has said he reserves the right to use military force to protect ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine. And Russia's foreign ministry says Ukraine's leaders face a new crisis if they don't federalize the country and give Russian language special status. Kiev is reaching out to the people in eastern Ukraine, trying to address their fears, offering to decentralize power and give financial incentives. Unlike Crimea, most people in eastern Ukraine are not ethnic Russians, but Ukrainians who speak Russian and have strong cultural ties to Russia. Relitsa Vasileva, CNN.